Hello, friends. This reflection will be for the Gospel of John for year C. If you're looking for the Lazarus Gospel, I will post that separately, so don't panic. It also depends, too, because I think some churches pick and choose between the two Gospels, and that's understandable. I'll be honest, I think the fifth Sunday of Lent should be Lazarus Sunday, no matter what. But, side commentary aside, let's get right to it. So, for the fifth Sunday of Lent for the year cycle C, we see the passage of when Jesus is tested once again. Now, if we look at week 1, and no matter what liturgical year it is, you're still going to hear the passage of how Jesus is tempted by the devil. And the devil's going to give him everything. And the devil wants Jesus to compromise. And let's face it, he's going to do that. He's been doing that to you for the past 5 weeks since the beginning of Lent. And most of us, we fell, but at this point, we keep picking ourselves up. It's like Jesus when he went from the courtyard, when he was given a heavy cross that probably weighed nearly a ton. I don't know. That's maybe heavy wood, but still. But now, we go to this point here where Jesus is tested by the Pharisees, who are of the Law of Moses tribe, or whatever you want to call it. And here they put Jesus to the test once again. And in this test, they remind him that this woman was caught in the act of adultery and that she must be stoned, which is part of the law. If any woman was caught in adultery, they would be stoned. But what does Jesus do? Not literally, but he does draw a line in the sand, so to speak. And he's like, okay, I'm just I kind of think of it as your parents trying to do something, and maybe you're looking down your screen, you're texting, or maybe you're listening, or you're just doing the whole doom scroll, you're going through social media these days. I mean, I don't think he'll be doing that, but that's kind of how we can really understand what he's doing. I mean, I don't know if he drew stick figures of all of his future saints and his apostles or disciples, whatever the case is. But seriously, Jesus doesn't really give heed to the Pharisees. And what we see here is that Jesus was confronted, and his response in between the writing, when he's writing in the sand, he tells him, "Let the one with no sin cast the first stone." Now, it's easy to judge people for the sins they commit. But as we see here, one by one, beginning with the elders, they started to withdraw from the scene until Jesus was left alone with the adulterous woman. And the first thing that Jesus asks the woman is, "Does anyone here condemn you?" And the woman says, "No." And Jesus says, "Neither do I. So go and sin no more." Now, what is something we can take away from this gospel? Well, I made the point earlier that it's easy to judge people for the sins that they have committed, whereas we're kind of like hypocrites ourselves if we're the ones that doing it ourselves. I mean, of course, let's face it. I mean, we kind of see that in entertainment these days, and of course, the recent phenomenon with Will Smith and Chris Rock with that was I'll be honest, I thought it was very ugly, and I think that should have been settled a little more privately. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chris Rock is a talented individual. They both are, believe me. But honestly, I just thought it got a little out of hand. Whether it was scripted or not, I mean, the only thing I could offer is just pray. Just pray. That's all. Now, back to the reflection. What we see here is that many of us here allow the world enter and creep into our hearts, our minds. And we can easily substitute God's voice with the voice of Satan saying, yes, yes, do it. That's something that you have to understand. We have to distinct between God's voice and the voice of the evil one. And there are ways we have to really discern, is this right for me? And far too many, we have encountered people that gave in to the lie. And they've been broken by it. In the case of the woman here, she could have been easily killed if it weren't for Jesus. But what Jesus wants to do is he wants you to tune out the world and let God in. And as the saying goes, let go and let God. And I will tell you this. Every time you dismiss the voice of the world and let God in, he will enter the deepest corners that have a void that need to be filled. Because Jesus loved us so much that he will ultimately lay down his life for you and me. He wants to call us to a new beginning. And that's what you've been working on for Lent the past few weeks. And you're getting to this point where things are shifting as we are preparing for that call to abandon sin and live out the Gospels. Friends, are we ready to take that leap of faith? Are we ready to let God in and tune out the world? Let go and let God. Go and sin no more. God bless.